Welcome back, this is Fire675 bringing you yet another Firefall Battleframe guide. Today we're going to talk about the Mammoth. The Mammoth is obviously a Dreadnaught variant, an advanced Tier 2 variant of the Accord Dreadnaught frame. These are the big heavy tanks, and the Mammoth is the tank of the tanks. This starts with the largest base health pool. Also is the slowest of all of the frames as far as walking and run speed go. Having said that, I've had a lot of fun playing this frame. It offers a lot of versatility. You can play it a couple different ways, but that's it's not a very flashy frame. It actually looks a lot like the Accord Assault kind of generator pack, but with obviously bigger plate armor all over the place. Oh, and a giant freaking machine gun. As we usually start, we'll start with the primary weapon. Now I built 2 level 30 weapons just so I can compare them for comparison's sake. Obviously with any advanced frame, you can equip the base frame's weapons and abilities. So in this case, the Accord Dreadnaught, all of those weapons and abilities that you can equip on that, you can equip on any. You can equip on this frame. So the unique primary weapon is called the Heavy Plasma MG, or the Plasma HMG. Now this works a lot like the regular heavy machine gun that most of the dreads use. It's got a rotating barrel that just throws out massive amount of firepower, and they always have really large magazines, so you can hold the fire button down. You can pump out continuous damage for quite a while without having to reload, which is good because the reload on these guns usually takes quite a while, as you can see here. And I back up. So you can see how devastating this weapon can be if used correctly. Now, if you've noticed, it's shooting out plasma bolts, or balls of plasma, compared to bullets that the normal heavy machine gun tosses out. There's pros and cons to using the plasma HMG, which I'll show you here. As far as numbers go, here's the plasma, and here's a regular HMG. Now, comparing these stats to the one I have equipped, you can see that the spread is not quite as much on the regular bullet-based HMG. The DPS, numbers-wise, is lower. Depends on how you play it, though. Rate of fire is higher on the regular bullet HMG. Magazine size is higher to counteract the higher rate of fire, basically. But here's an important thing. The damage per round is much lower on the bullet-based, while the charge-up is a little bit longer, and alt-fire splash damage doesn't exist on the HMG. Another big difference here is the bullet speed and velocity. With the plasma HMG, the bullets come out slower, a slower rate of fire, but there's actually a velocity difference. You can see the actual rounds move kind of slow behind where I'm aiming. So this can be tricky if you've got something running laterally. You have to lead them a little bit to stay targeted. While if you did that with a bullet-based HMG, the projectile velocity is much higher on this weapon. So you can pretty much just keep your reticle on whatever you're shooting at, and it's going to hit. You don't have to worry about leading or anything like that. So that's a bonus to the bullet-based HMG. It's much easier to land your shots on a moving target with the bullet-based, just because of the higher velocity projectiles. Obviously, the base model HMG secondary fire mode is the frontal shield, which I never really got into the habit of using when I was trying to level up my Accord Dreadnaught. And the uses of that are, well, if you can find a use for it, go ahead and use it. Problem with this shield is the fact that you can't shoot through it. So you are in pure defensive mode while this is up, and it leaves a lot of you exposed. So unless you're using the variant of this that gives you the 360 shield, usages are kind of limited. Now the plasma HMG gives you a shotgun for your secondary fire, and it will shoot 10 bolts, or 10 rounds I should say. See, I couldn't shoot it there because I only had 9 ammo. And it throws them all out, you know, in a shotgun fashion. You know, no telling where it's going to go. The closer you are, the easier it is to land all 10. If you land all 10, the DPS is higher than if you were just holding it down and focus firing through your primary fire. So you've got your 2 fires. You got your charge up primary fire with the slower bullets, which hit harder than regular bullets, and your shotgun secondary. So that's the pros and cons between using the plasma HMG and the regular HMG. So let's start talking about some of the unique abilities for the Mammoth. First unique ability we're going to talk about is the Thunderdome. Thunderdome was one of the abilities set for the Accord Dreadnaught back in beta, before it was set for the Mammoth frame in particular. Back then they had a lot of PvP, queued PvP between players, and Thunderdome was a lot of fun because you could fly up next to somebody and drop this around them, and they're basically screwed. Back in those days, the heavy machine guns on the Dreads were, you could eat someone up really quickly, but you had to be within a certain range to be able to use it effectively. So what Thunderdome does, basically it pops out a dome, a shield dome, centered around you, your current location. Each one of these shields has a certain amount of hit points. Here you can see this one has base shield health of just under 6,000 hit points. Has a duration of 4 seconds and recharges in about a minute. As your levels go up of your abilities, your shield health will go up. And then there's different ways that you can modify this. This is a cooled prefix Thunderdome, so the recharge is a little bit less, and that's probably why it says 54 seconds instead of 60 seconds. So it'll pop a shield out in a dome fashion on your current location, at which point projectiles won't be able to go through from either side. It'll absorb projectiles from the inside out and from the outside in. You and friendlies to your character can pass through it both ways. They can walk into it, they can walk out of it. Unfriendly characters are not able to traverse the dome. So if you're next to somebody and next to an enemy and you drop it, they will be trapped inside. They won't be able to get away, which can be used offensively or it can be used defensively. If you want to get away from something, you can trap it inside and run away because you can run through it and they can't. Or you can use it defensively as a blocker. Say you're in a hallway doing an Ares mission and there's a ton of guys following you, running behind you, you can just, you know, pop your ability like that, and now the hallway's blocked. They can't run past that. They can't run through it, so they'd have to wait. So that'll give you a little escape route, a little buffer time to get away. So you saw it only lasts about 4 seconds, which isn't a lot of time, but you can modify that with lasting modules. It'll increase the duration of the shield. All right, so this would be a good example of the projectile blocking abilities of the dome. So drop down here, see, and they can't shoot in, and I can't shoot out. They can't walk in here either. So that shows the how the permeability to projectiles works. Once it's up, nothing comes in, nothing comes out as far as weapon fire. Okay, here we go. So let's say I didn't want to get hit by this guy. I could lock him inside my dome and run away. Just by going like this. See, now he can't get out. I still can't shoot him until that barrier fades away like it just did there. So I can't shoot in. But he was trapped. He couldn't follow me out. So let's, while I've got people shooting at me here, let's talk about shield wall. Shield wall, if you've been to Devil's Tusk, you may have seen the Orphan chain gunners use this type of ability. Basically, it puts a wide frontal shield, kind of like the regular heavy machine guns secondary ability. It puts out that little, you know, honeycomb shield out in front of you. The shield wall puts out a wall of shield instead of just a little tiny target shield. And it'll block anything coming at you, and anything that's behind your shield, any friendlies that are behind your shield, also gain a reduction in damage taken. Basically, it's called a resilient buff. So you can see here, it says damage reduction force 15%. So if you have force modules, you can increase that, so you'll take less damage if you have that buff from being behind the shield wall. The duration can be modified, obviously. Recharge can be modified by cooled modules, like I have. And it has a base shield health, which is important for some of the perks later. Some of the shield perks only work on shields that have health, instead of shield perks that run on percentages. So this is what it looks like. It just unfolds like this, blocks anything coming at you, and you and anyone behind you, any friendlies behind you, can shoot right through this perfectly. So it's really nice compared to the secondary ability of the HMG. It's a purely defensive move. You can't shoot while it's up. You can only hold your position. This is nice because you can charge things. You can block a hallway. You can lead the way. You can be the tank for your group. And people can hide behind your shield for as long as it's up. So that's basically the shield wall. There's not a whole lot more to it. But like I said, the damage reduction force is something that not everybody knows about. So keep that in mind if you're trying to position yourself working with a mammoth, that you can get a buff from staying behind his shield. So that's the shield wall. Obviously, if you're trying to fight a mammoth, realize that that shield wall stays still. It'll stay in front of him wherever he's facing, true, but you can't elevate it, deflect things coming from the top, or rotate it down to deflect things coming from lower than you. It always stays level, perpendicular with your feet, if you will. So you can take advantage of that by using your jump jets and shooting down on top of them. Try to get headshots that way because there's nothing they can do. Also, it doesn't go all the way to the ground. So if you have splash damage weapons, you can basically shoot at their feet and give them splash damage that way, basically underneath the shield. If you look, there is a little bit of a gap. Probably accentuated a little bit there because of the hill, but there is a bit of a gap there. Which brings us to the third unique ability for the Mammoth, which is the teleport shot. Now, having played Mammoth here for 37 levels, I really haven't used teleport shot all that much. It does damage, AoE damage when it hits stuff, so it can be used kind of like a missile shot, like a Tiger Claw, but it gives you the advantage of basically a teleport grenade, like the recon tab, that you can throw it and it will count down and teleport you to wherever that grenade is located. Teleport shot works pretty much in the same fashion. If you shoot it straight ahead with nothing in collision range, it gets to a certain range and activates, and you teleport to that point. When it teleports you, you maintain your current velocity and your current direction. So keep that in mind. If you're falling and you shoot it straight ahead, you will teleport straight ahead, but you will still be falling at the same rate of speed that you were previously, and it won't save you. You'll still splat. You can fire teleport shot while you have a glider active, which makes for some fun stuff. I'm going to show you a quick video about that in a second here. But this will also activate if you hit a target, if you hit a friendly, if you hit a wall, anything that has collision detection, it will activate as well. So that just did like 7,000 damage to my target that it hit. So it does decent damage. Depending on your build, you may or may not want to be that close to your targets. I have a build going right now that I've deemed the Ninja Turtle. It's basically it's this build that I have currently, where it's a melee build, which is a little bit strange. It's a purely melee build, and I'll get to that in a different video. But this will be a good gap closer for this type of build, where you're built tanky and you're built for up and close damage. So you would like to get in as close as you can so that you can automatically start hitting people. Like I said, it gives you that nice AoE splash damage to start. So if you're heading into a bunch of bad guys with some pretty good hit points, it'll soften them up to start, and then give you a chance to finish them off with your melee attack. So that's basically the three primary abilities, unique abilities for the Mammoth. Like I said before, any advanced frame can use any of the primary frame's abilities and weapons. So just keep that in mind. With the Mammoth, you can use Absorption Bomb, which I use in my Ninja Turtle build. Basically, you hunker down, you get shielded, and you absorb all the damage that they're dishing out to you, and then you reflect it all back in an AoE blast. So it's a lot of fun. You get in real deep, get a crowd of enemies around you, activate that, and it usually does a really good chunk of damage. You can use Explosive Rounds, which is an excellent ability. I highly recommend this. It makes your primary fire, shoot explosive rounds. So there's a splash damage, there's an increased damage, but it also does increased damage to everything, including melee attacks, including other abilities, while it's active. So even if you're not using it for your primary fire, you may decide to use this for your melee build, because it gives you, well, right here, they've got a 16% damage increase while it's active, and it lasts for almost 10 seconds. So I mean, that's a good chunk, a good steroid, if you will, ability, if you choose to go that way. Heavy armor's good. Actually, I use that right now just because I've got an appropriately rare ability to use that. Reduces damage. Right now, this one reduces 35% damage incoming for about 7 seconds. Not great, not bad. You know, take it if you will. I find it's decent. But like I said, I'm using it right now just because I've got power rating built into this, and actually used it on a previous frame. Repulsor blast, AoE damage, point blank AoE damage, fun stuff. If you're in tight with melee, it will do a lot of damage, but it'll also fling your enemies everywhere. May not be the best for you since you want them close to do melee damage if that's your type of build. If you're just trying to disperse the enemies, or if you can basically finish them off with a blast, might be an ability that you might want to look at. And finally, turret mode. Turret mode's good as well for sustained damage, whether you're hunting tornadoes, or if you're doing something else, you're firing at something that's not moving. You can push out a lot of damage using this ability. So those are the basic abilities of the Mammoth. So let's talk about the HKM. I really enjoy the HKM of the Mammoth. It's called Tremor. Or Tremors, excuse me. Basically, it shoots seismic sound waves, almost like a thumper. You turn into a walking thumper, if you will, and it just doom, doom, doom. It shoots out these sound waves. And basically, it's an AoE damage. This has an effect radius right here of 8 meters, and it just hits damage, 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 and it lasts for 10 seconds. This is one of the reasons why I decided to use the Mammoth for my Ninja Turtle build, because compared to the Dreadfield HKM of the Rhino, that HKM really didn't fit the mold of a melee based frame like I wanted to build. But yeah, Tremors it's an excellent HKM, and it's fun because not only does it do damage, a ton of damage, it also does a knockback, and it snares anything that it hits. So if you're in the thick of things and you're being the tank, you're going to be able to hold off a whole bunch of guys at the same time after you hit them with this. Let me just show you here. Put up my shield. Get a couple guys together here. Hey guys. So I trapped them inside there. Just hit your Tremor. Jump, dance, dance. So this is great because you can do whatever you want while it's active. If you wanted to sit there and shoot, you can shoot. If you wanted to sit there and do melee attacks, you can do that too. It's all up to you, but I think that's why this was like a perfect frame to build as a melee frame. You know, because if you do get in too deep, like for instance, if I hadn't popped it over there, this would be a great spot to use it. You've got all these guys stacked up right on top of each other, and you can just pop that, and you're doing damage to all of them equally. There's, as far as I know, there's no cap as far as number of targets hit at the same time for that ability. You know, unlike other things, like for instance melee, you can only hit 2 things at the same time with the Sin Blade. Now, if you don't want Tremors, if you just don't like the way that's working for you, you can always use the primary Accord Dreadnaught's HKM, which is the arc-folded mortar launcher, and it does excellent damage too. Basically, it replaces your weapon, your secondary weapon, but it puts it in your hands. It turns into a super explosive grenade launcher. It lasts for a certain amount of time with unlimited ammo within that time. It's a lot like the Arsenal's abilities, like his HKM, where he's got the rocket launcher thing that comes out of his back, kind of like that, kind of like his particle beam, but it's, you know, it's got an arc projectile that just blows stuff up. So that's an option too if you want to use that HKM. Finally, we're going to talk about perks. There's so many different ways that you can play a mammoth. The way this frame is built, you can be an offensive mammoth, which they put out respectable DPS at ranged, or if you want to spec it melee, like I did for my Ninja Turtle, you can do it that way. You can also build them so they are super tanky, very difficult to kill. Now, in the end game right now, there's not much use for a tank per se, since there's no real sustained healing as far as traditional MMOs go. You know, where you have a tank that's generating threat and the boss is pounding on the tank and your healers are healing the tank and the DPS is trying not to draw aggro from the boss. Right now, that's not how Firefall works, so the traditional tank role, or job if you will, doesn't fully hold in the current meta. Having said that, if you want to build shieldy, if you want to build tanky, there's lots of different options for you right now. Regardless of which way you go, I always recommend getting a health return perk first. For any of the dreads, this right here, Resilient Plating, I think is a very easy first perk point to spend when you get to level 10. It'll make your life so much easier for the rest of your leveling, because once you drop under 35% health, you will start regenning 1% of your health per second until you get back up to 35%. So this increases your effective health bar so much, and allows you to kite and run away and kite and run away and kite if you do get in a certain situation where you are definitely outgunned, and it makes you much more survivable. So I definitely say Resilient Plating is an easy, no-brainer first perk point to grab. Once you unlock your Mammoth, you unlock this skill. It's exclusive to the Mammoth. Nearby enemies become vulnerable, increasing the damage they take by 10%. This has a fairly short range, maybe 5 to 8 meters. I'm not exactly sure. Let me see. Yeah, it's fairly short range. If you're playing a range DPS type Mammoth, this may not be the best perk for you. But for a lot of other frames where you're going to be either the tank, absorbing damage, shielding damage, or if you're in a melee type, this is a decent perk to pick up, because not only does it increase damage that you're dishing out, but it increases the damage of anybody else in your group or any other friendly that's attacking that target source. Plasma Enthusiast is a great perk to look at, obviously because here it shows you it increases your energy and plasma weapons damage by 10%. Your Plasma HMG obviously is a plasma weapon. So there you go. Flat 10% damage right there. If you decide to go to the melee build and pick up the Sin Blade, which is down here, with energy shaping, which is a Raptor level 30 perk unlock, it turns your melee damage into an energy attack. So there you go. Plasma Enthusiast increases energy and plasma weapons damage. So that's a good synergy right there. So Plasma Enthusiast is another good easy perk choice. And at level 30, as a Mammoth, you unlock this. Thick Hide increases your bonus health by 25%. It makes you much more tanky. This helps definitely if you are going for the tanky role, obviously, or if you're in a melee role, you can absorb a lot more punishment up close, which is where you're going to be. So you're going to be taking a hurting by going the melee route. So this will help your survivability quite a bit. Not only does this help you with that, but if your maximum HP goes up, 1% of your maximum HP also goes up. So by increasing your health pool, you're increasing the amount that your resilient plating is going to be healing you. Pretty simple. If you're going to go super tanky, there's lots of other options you can take. You can go either the protection route by taking a lot of these 20% damage reductions, coupled with some of these that actually give you a bonus for taking these types of damages. Some of these are better than others. For instance, you don't see a ton of poison damage, except for like toxic Aranyas, but they're pretty easy to avoid. Fire damage, not until you get up into Devil's Tusk do you see a lot of this. Plasma and energy, you'll get those from snipers and chosen with plasma weapons, bandits and stuff like that. So those are some things that you can think about taking if you wanted to go that route for being tanky. There's also a lot of other things. Headshot damage, not really important because unless you're going against PvP, that might be an option there. But there's lots of different other armor types and shielding things. Since the Mammoth is not only just big and tanky, but he also has these different shield abilities that have hit points. That's important. There's lots of different things, like for instance this reduces the cooldown of shield abilities, so that'll work for your shield wall. That will also work for your Thunderdome. Will not work for hardened armor and stuff like that, because that does a percentage reduction. That's not an actual physical shield with a hit point value. There's a couple other things in here. Let me see if I can find them. Shields up increases the health of all shields by 20%. There you go. There's another great shield bonus. I discussed the hides before. Sentient armor is interesting. When you get hit, say you take a shot from a ballistic gun, armor to reduce the damage from that damage type for 20% for 10 seconds. So this adapts to a certain type. So instead of taking a bunch of these, you can take that sentient armor, and it will reduce damage 20% for 10 seconds for that type. And then it has an internal cooldown of 12 seconds. Which likely means that it'll last for 10 seconds, then start the 12-second cooldown. So it's like basically a 22-second cooldown from start to the next start. There's a lot of other interesting things here. Not so much. Deflection plating. If you're being a tanky character, you can take this. A third of all bullets that hit you have a chance to ricochet and damage a nearby enemy. I mean, if you're going to be right in the middle of things and you're getting shot at, This is an easy way to increase your DPS or increase the or decrease the survivability of the targets around you. When you get down to the masters, there's a couple interesting abilities here. Health Surge, which is basically your level 40 Mammoth perk unlock. Activating an ability heals you for 15% of your max health over 10 seconds. If you activate another ability within that 10 seconds, it resets the timer for another 10 seconds. So let's say you were 5 seconds into that heal, it resets it to 10, so you'll heal 15% from that time onto the end of the timer. So that's an interesting option. Second Wind is also a good one if you're going to be a tanky or even a melee character that's going to be taking a lot of damage. If you're below 30% health, you will heal back 60% of your max health if you kill 5 guys quickly. I believe there's a internal cooldown with this ability as well. So if you're probably going to be down low anyway, this might be a really good perk to take advantage of that and get a lot more sustainable health. And I think they're Hellbent. This is another interesting perk as well. Anytime you take damage from any source externally, so not shooting yourself in the foot, not taking fall damage, not taking environmental damage. So if there's something hitting you, some enemy hitting you, you get a 5% bonus damage. That stacks up 5 times. And there's a timer as long as you're taking damage, and then it'll drop off. But you can get up to 25% bonus damage with this perk if you're getting hit. So if you're being a tank character, or if you're being a melee character, this might be a great perk for you. 25% bonus damage sounds great to me. So those are it's a quick overview. A couple different options. I can't tell you one way or another how you want to play your Mammoth, but I've given you some different ideas to think about and explained a couple of these different perks so that you can shape your own type of Mammoth. Like I said before, I created a different melee type, and I'll be doing that video probably sometime this week, so keep your eyes open for that. So I finally finished my Mammoth Advanced Frame guide. It's been a long time coming. Now all my advanced frames are done until they release another one, if they do release another one. Haven't heard any whispers about that yet. So my next guides, I may be going back and doing the Accord frames, the 5 basic frames for new players, but also for advanced players, veteran players, if you will, that still haven't fleshed out or finished capping out your frames. So maybe you'll learn something along the way from watching those videos. So if you have any other ideas, if there's any type of video you'd like to see me make, any topic that you haven't been able to find elsewhere, please post down in the comments. Feel free to like the video. Subscribe to the channel so you'll see when new videos get released. And also check me out on Twitch. Fire675 on Twitch, and you can follow me at Ficaster on Twitter. I'm also just recently joined the COC Community of Chaos streaming group, so I broadcast with them on Monday nights currently. So you can check them out at cocgn.com, and I hope to see you guys very soon. Have a good one.